Welcome to Showtime All the Time. I'm your host, Dennis Bickmeyer of the Henrico Sports and Entertainment Authority. I just want to say, first of all, thank you to the Henrico PR team. We're in a new studio. This place is fantastic. So great job to that team. And joining us for the second time, I think you're our first repeat guest.
All right.
But for good reason. For good reason. From the Atlantic 10 Conference, the Associate Commissioner for Women's Basketball, Candy Cage.
Yeah,
welcome back.
Dennis, thank you so much for having me. And yes, I second this. Studio is awesome. I'm grateful to be back. We're excited. Year 2, I can't even believe it. We're like 5 weeks away.
Yeah, it's hard to believe.
5 weeks away from the women's basketball A-10 championships in this city. It's so cool.
Yeah, we're excited to be counting that down. March 5th through the 9th is the Atlantic 10 Women's Basketball Conference Championship. So we're going to jump right into that, too. So last year, year 1, tremendous success. Tell us, give us your review of last year and the feedback that you got throughout the league.
Well, again, I think it was the opening year, the new building. It was phenomenal, the environment, a lot of excitement. I was super impressed with how the Henrico and surrounding communities embrace the championship, because our number one goal is this fantastic experience for the student athletes, and we want to build relationships in this community. And it was hopping. I was blown away by the support and met some people that were like, yeah, we heard something was going on. We just came over. And they came back the next day, and they bought tickets the next day. Guys that don't usually watch women's basketball. So that was a really nice surprise. But obviously in year 2, we're looking to build. We want to sell more tickets and make this something that people put on their calendar for every year.
Well, and that's something we're going to get into too, is like, okay, what are our expectations for year 2? But just going back to year 1 for a second, I second, your enthusiasm for that. I remember, first of all, on Education Day, how loud it was in there with all of our students in there, and that was a lot of fun. And then certainly, to your point, seeing the support from the fans for the schools, the bands and the cheerleaders, just the atmosphere overall. And for us, from our standpoint with the Henrico Sports and Event Center, it was a big leap. And again, I appreciate the A-10 and seeing the vision that we had for the facility, and then certainly the collaboration that our offices that share, along with our partners at Richmond Region Tourism. So makes for a great team. And
your staff was amazing. They are so phenomenal to work with. It's a privilege, and it helps us so much. Makes our job a little bit easier.
So what are those expectations for year 2? How do we raise the bar now in year 2?
Yeah, well, we're hoping to get the repeat customers, and we want to sell more tickets. I think we did a really good job last year, but it was solid, and now let's get all the days a little bit more full. When you get into Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Dennis, when you're in the quarters, semis, and obviously championship Sunday, there's a lot of excitement and people will come, but we want to make it sort of the entire week, like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, leading up to the championship. We really like to get more people in the seats for those earlier rounds. And it's kind of neat for the community because they can connect with maybe a player, maybe in one of the early rounds. And when they advance, or maybe there's an upset, then they're like, hey, then they become a fan. Like maybe they weren't a Rhode Island fan, and all of a sudden a young person connects with one of the student athletes, and they become that new group that's cheering for Rhode Island. They didn't even know where the school was, maybe. So we want to build on some of the opening rounds, and then of course sell out championship Sunday.
Absolutely. So set the stage. What's going on in the league this year? From the women's basketball side. Obviously some great competition. It's a long journey to get to this point, but talk to us about what's been happening with the teams in the league and set the stage for the upcoming championship.
Yeah, thanks, Dennis. I love talking A-10 women's hoops. You know that. I think it's it's a non-A4 conference, but we're so talented. It is such a competitive, outstanding conference. And with that being said, one of your local teams, the Richmond Spiders, is really, really good this year and currently in first place, but several teams kind of nipping right at their heels. St. Joe's University in Philly, very, very good team. And then another fairly local school just up the road, George Mason University in Fairfax, Virginia. They are having a phenomenal season. So all three teams, Dennis, are in the top 50 of the net. We are the only non-Power 5 conference that has that many teams ranked that high in women's basketball. So that is a real credit to how good these teams are. And then you go right down to the next tier, and everybody's beating everybody. Everybody has 3-4 losses. Everybody sneaks up, beats people. I mean, if you asked me today how it was going to shake out from number 1 to number 15, I don't know if I could tell you. It's that competitive. So we're looking to get some postseason teams. We should have more than one team in the NCAA tournament. This is the first year ever that women's basketball will be taking part in the revenue distribution, just like the men. So now there's financial reasons to get to the big tournament and survive and win. So a lot of exciting things going on. And it all comes to a head right here at Henrico for this championship because the winner gets that automatic qualifier to the NCAAs. So it's going to be good. And the league is solid, really good.
Well, and that's the thing, too, is I know you guys have had a tremendous focus on scheduling and trying to do everything you can to get multiple teams in the NCAA tournament. And you just touched on it. So all 15 teams come here to play in the tournament. And then there's obviously the ultimate prize at the end of Championship Sunday. So talk about that automatic qualifier and
it's
what that means.
It's a lot. It is a lot for these schools, for the programs, for the conference, the television exposure. And, student athletes, they have, individual goals for the season, but everybody wants to win an A-10 championship. And then everybody wants to play in the NCAA tournament. And that's just kind of the icing on the cake, if you will. So there's a lot at stake. And I know you remember this. Last year in the quarterfinals, 3 of our top seeds all went down. Yeah. I mean, it's more pressure. It's a electric environment, and so I just think you just can't predict it.
Well, it's March Madness for a reason,
exactly.
Right? I mean, as you said, anything can happen. It's for those teams that maybe didn't finish in the upper end of the regular season. It's a chance to hit reset.
Yeah, you're saying
it
correctly.
For the prize at the end, and for those teams that maybe are in the upper echelon, it's like, okay, again, kind of refocus. Anything can happen, when you're out there and they throw the ball up, and that's why we play the game. So that's what
March
makes
Madness.
it exciting.
You're right.
That's right.
And it's one and done. You go home.
That's right.
You're done.
There's no double elimination in this.
And
man.
you hit it too. If you didn't have as successful of a regular season, you have another chance. Yeah. You roll into Henrico, and everybody's 0-0. So it's very exciting. It just adds to it. So
well, I want to remind everyone to go to Atlantic10.com/tickets, get all your ticket information. But as we've talked already too, we had a solid foundation in year one, and as Candy's referenced several times, it's about building, the kind of next layer onto this championship. So a lot of opportunities for the community to get engaged. We've got corporate ticket information that we can send out to everybody. We got a Chamber of Commerce event on March 5th, the opening night of the tournament, afternoon. That'll be a lot of fun. And then a really, really unique event as well to celebrate International Women's Day on Saturday, March 8th. We're doing a Trailblazers and Leadership brunch. So really excited to have Commissioner McGlade as one of the panelists, Angela Royston from Virginia Credit Union, our own Misty Roundtree, who's a member of the Board of Supervisors, and Lori Warren, who's the president of Richmond Raceway. So tickets are available for this as well. $50 gets you your brunch, the panel discussion, and tickets to the semifinal game. So, again, trying to layer on a few more things to get the community engaged this time around.
Yeah, I think hopefully the locals and people from even further away will take advantage. There's some powerful panelists on the leadership event that we're having, and also we have the community appreciation on Wednesday. We can't even ever thank our first responders enough, and we're trying to make it available for them and their families to come out on Wednesday. So hopefully we'll be able to get some people there to say thank you to the first responders. And then obviously Education Day is insane. We know the teachers love it. Pile everybody in, give them a bunch of food, and let them go crazy, and then take them back to school. It's great. It's fantastic.
That's right. And we really want to get, again, alums of the 15 schools that are in our region. Get in your cars, come out to the Sports and Event Center, support your team. We got a lot of young basketball players in our community. We see a lot of them at the Sports Center. Come out and see some great women's basketball. And that's one of the things I want to talk about. We talked about this last year, this amazing trajectory that women's basketball is on right now, and certainly women's sports overall. Yeah. And I'll keep saying this, there's never been a better time to be in the business of women's sports than right now. How do you assess today's game? You spent a lot of time on the sidelines, coaching, playing the game. How do you assess the women's game today?
Yeah, Dennis, you hit it. Women's sports in general. Basketball has always been very popular, but it's obviously increased tremendously over the last decade. And women's sports in general. It's interesting to see what we've known, those of us that have been in it from, a very young age and have been blessed to have it be a part of our careers. We've always known how fantastic women's sports are. Now everybody else is seeing it. You're starting to see people invest. The professional league is adding teams. I had someone say to me, and I don't know if this is good or not, but I had a friend text who's a men's basketball fan, and he said, "Candy, what's going on? All these women's WNBA coaches are getting fired." And I was like, man, come on, they care now. They're making money. So now they want to be legit, and they're all paying attention. So it's actually a reward and kind of just, confirming what we've known all along. And the Atlantic 10, the basketball, the level of play that these women are playing at is just phenomenal. And Richmond and Henrico, just this area is such an awesome sports town. And so I would just challenge people that haven't maybe gotten on our bandwagon for women's hoops yet. Come out and see a game, and I'm telling you, we will reel you in. You will be back for sure. It's really good stuff.
And that's a good segue, because we want to take that excitement that's around the women's game, and certainly again around the championship that we built last year. But part of that, and you touched on this earlier, our staff, your staff, Richmond Region Tourism, we focus a lot on not just the fan experience when you come to the Sports Center to enjoy a game, but you touched on it, the athlete experience and ways that our community can engage to create that welcoming environment for our student athletes that are coming in from all over the Atlantic 10 Conference. So again, talk about that importance from the student athlete side, why that's so important when they come to a championship event.
Yeah, Dennis, that's a great question and point. We got a lot of good feedback last year, and that's a credit to everyone in the community. Our student athletes said from the second they either got off the plane or off the bus, they immediately saw and felt kind of that welcoming, like, hey, these people know we're here. The signage, what Richmond Region Tourism did, just going into the hotels and seeing the A-10 and seeing their teams. And it's important because some of these student athletes, they're not all going pro. They're going to be like running companies. I mean, these young women are brilliant, and they're all gonna be my boss someday, I'm sure. But and so this might be the last competitive athletic event that they participate in. So it is very important for us to make the championship experience so outstanding for the student athletes. And you guys crushed it last year, and I hear there's some stuff going on at the airport, and it's going to be phenomenal. And the intent is, if they go in to get a cup of coffee, they're like, oh, there's a sign in the window. Right. They know we're here. And when the schools come to the games, the kids get all excited about them, and it's all important. It's really good. Makes the experience, and that's again a credit to everyone that's involved in this community to get this championship to that level.
Yeah, I think whether you got a team in the event that you root for or not, again, hopefully we've convinced you all that, the excitement around the women's game, the level of play that we've seen in the women's game is something to experience. And again, I think you guys did a great job of transforming the sports center as well. Just that championship feel all the way around, and certainly the TV broadcast. I was getting texts from people, friends all over the place because I was, hey, make sure you tune in, and then they're like, man, that place looks really cool. So that was good. So credit to everybody on the team and all of our partners. And again, I want to thank the conference office for your trust in us. Again, it's a two-way street. We're all in this together. So we're looking forward to this year's event and certainly building on it for next year and hopefully into the future as well. So appreciate that. And so one of our traditions here as we get close to wrapping up is for our guests to share something, a personal story, or a piece of memorabilia or something that you have about your career or your time in this business of sports. So what do you got for us this time around?
I know you guys emailed me and asked about that, and I've been really fortunate to be in this business and industry my entire career, and so many. And you think about like the big time athletes that you've met, and then you kind of and I'll just share a couple years back I had the privilege of hanging out with Katie Ledecky right after she came back with 9 medals. Yeah. And
you ever tried on one of those?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So she said, she's like, Candy, have you ever? And I'm like, no. And she put it on my neck, and she had them all, and it was really cool. Underneath, they're engraved. But anyway, I had an experience when I was a kid. I was down in Miami. I got to be on the field for a charity event, and Dan Marino was like one of my idols, probably the greatest football player, quarterback that didn't win a Super Bowl, right? But anyway, that's a whole nother. So I've had those experiences. But when you guys asked me, I had the pleasure of like meeting Tiger Woods at a charity golf tournament in Bethesda. I've had really cool experiences. It's so hard, but it was funny. I don't know if you can see this, Dennis. It's pretty big, and it's a gaudy ring. But I tell you why I thought of this. Because we get the privilege of being around a lot of interesting things in sports. And I was a high school AD at one point, and our tennis team was terrible. Literally, people didn't want to play us. We were so bad, or they would play their subs or their whatever. It was bad. It was really bad. And, well, we hired a new coach, and I started giving them a little gym time and giving them some strength and conditioning time, and nobody really cared about tennis in this community. And long story short, it was literally like orphans to champions. And I had left, but the year after I left, my last year we lost by 1 point in the finals. So we were so close. But then I left to take a job at the Atlantic 10. And the next year, they brought me back to the school, and these kids, they paid, they wouldn't even let me. They wanted me to have this championship ring. They were so proud of it. Coach Cage, we couldn't have done this and whatever. So it's kind of a weird thing, but it just meant a lot that they appreciated me and wanted to include me. And they wouldn't even let me pay for the ring. I still don't know how they paid for the ring, because knowing those bandits, they might have done a couple car washes or something, but it meant a lot. So I appreciate you asking the question. There's just so many,
Well, that's what I love about this, because again, a lot of us have spent our entire careers in this business, and we work in a fun business, but it is a business, but you have those rewarding opportunities as well. So that's great. I'm actually going to share mine, because it's a picture I see every day in my office, and this is actually from last year's championship.
And that's awesome.
I brought it because, again, I want to reinforce to people that are watching out there the sheer joy of hosting a championship like this.
I remember that.
And what it means to us, but what it means to our community as well, and the appreciation that we have for you guys. So hopefully you can see the smile on my face. I see it every day in my office, and I really look forward to March 5th through the 9th.
I love it. I remember that.
To be with you guys again for this championship. So, again, I want to remind everybody, Atlantic10.com/tickets. Go out and buy those tickets. Again, I don't care if you don't have a dog in this fight. Come see some amazing basketball players, coaches, have a lot of respect for the time that the coaches put into their craft as well. But again, we have March Madness right here in our own backyard. So this is a unique opportunity for our community to embrace this event. So, Candy, first of all, thank you.
No, thank you guys for having me. Looking forward to being back here very shortly and running another fantastic championship, and hope a lot of people come out.
Yeah, any questions?
You won't be disappointed.
Yeah, any questions, go to henricosca.com or atlantic10.com, and we'll see you at the Atlantic 10 Women's Basketball Championship March 5th through the 9th at the Henrico Sports and Event Center. Thanks for tuning in to Showtime all the time. See you next time.